Hello everyone, welcome to Architecture 121. I'm Ephemios and I will talk about shelters and move into the modern shelters. The goal of this lecture is about modern shelters, but I will start with this beautiful little image of a Scandinavian farmhouse. Pay attention to the thickness of the walls, the stone floor. The carpet is made out of natural straw material to prevent moisture of moving from the stone upward to someone's feet. Creates also heat barrier. Pay attention to the bench, which is to be used as a bed. Does not touch the ground. There's two vertical elements underneath it. Very easy to clean. There's a wooden board in the back of the wall for protection of the heat loss of the human body when someone sleeps or sits against this bed against the stone and plaster wall behind it. So that wooden board creates some kind of barrier between moisture and heat moving from the body of a human into plaster and stone wall. Pay attention to the door on the left. It's made out of wood boards with a two horizontal and one angled piece that connects all of them together. Moving to into the roof, you can see the bond beam on the top of the window on the right side is moving horizontally where the roof rests on that wood piece. That piece exactly above the window, we can call it lintel, but in this case is a bond beam made out of wood that is on top of that stone wall that carries or holds the roof. You can see at the end of the roof on the right, the ridge beam is at an angle, and all the way to the front right, you can see just slightly a piece of that ridge beam moving at an angle. You see the big beam in the middle of the room, which we call it a tie beam, which holds the roof together from left to right, so it doesn't open. We call it to open, to be flattened, or to have the stone walls left and right to be pushed outward or inward. In this case, because of the roof design, it's going to be outward, cannot be pushed inward. So the tie beam holds the building together from left to right. There's another tie beam on the end where the little boat rests. Above that, there is a shorter beam horizontally, which also is a tie beam between the rafter. This is the rafter at the end as I was talking to you, and there is another rafter beam right here. I see now that it's been cut off in this picture. Between them you have these horizontal beams, and this one here, and this one here, and this one here, where then on top of that you have boards on the opposite direction, and on top of that you have straw or roofing material, in this particular case sod from the area. So the way we analyze a shelter of the old vernacular way, I will use the same technique now, but I will introduce ideas about design and about aesthetics that we're going to be analyzing modern shelters. So the next one is a chapel in the northern part of Italy. So analysis of modern shelters. It's a church at Buseno, Switzerland, which is the North Italy part and the most southern Switzerland. I hope I have spelled the word Switzerland correctly. The architects are Mario Campi and Franco Pessina. These are very, very incredible architects. Most of their work is in the 80s and 90s. I'm assuming right now they are probably these two men are probably in their late 80s in the age. This church was designed on the top of the mountain where there was no access with a road to bring the materials and to bring all the construction materials for constructing this chapel. So they brought everything with a donkey, and they carry everything up in the mountain. And the donkey is not anymore a vernacular donkey, but is a contemporary donkey. And you will see the picture in a moment of that donkey. Now I'd like you to pay attention to the front part of the church, to see the angles, which reminds you of probably Pantheon in Rome and Parthenon in Athens, in Acropolis. Will remind you also churches, and then you can see here a circle, which again with a cross, and which also reminds you the rosette windows above the main door of a cathedral. This element, which looks like a chimney in a factory, but right now is the structure that is a big skylight that brings light into this church, and it's kind of reminiscent of the domes of the cathedrals, or the Renaissance time, or the domes in the Byzantine architecture in the churches. On the left, you can see the balcony. You see steps left and right, moving upward right here and right there. In reality, there's a staircase going up here, and then there's a bell tower up here behind here. Elevated steps, so then you move from the ground level onto the level of the floor, which is right here, which is the main floor of the church. If you go into your textbook, I'm sure there is an elevated space. Here is elevated base plane, page 106, and that way you will start relating your textbook to the actual architecture that you see here. And the whiteness of the building relates to perhaps a chapel, a church in the Mediterranean islands. Very simple, very contemporary.